The humans didn't just defeat us, they erased us from existence. Captain Zorax Vin's words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of unspoken horrors. The auditorium, filled with eager young Thraxian cadets, fell into a stunned silence. Zorax's 4 eyes scanned the room, noting the mixture of disbelief and fear on the faces before him. "I know what you're thinking," he continued, his voice gravelly with age and the memories that haunted him. "How can a fleet be erased? Ships can be destroyed, crews can be killed, but surely there would be debris, records, something left behind." He paused, letting the implications sink in. The cadets shifted uncomfortably in their seats, their exoskeletons clicking softly against the chairs. "That's what I thought too, once upon a time, before I encountered the human ship." Zorax's mind drifted back to that fateful day, 5 cycles ago. He had been at the helm of the Thraxian Empire's most formidable battle group, 50 ships strong, armed with the latest quantum torpedoes and plasma lances. They were patrolling the outer rim of Thraxian space, a show of force to deter any would-be invaders. "We picked up an anomaly on our long-range scanners," Zorax recounted, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. The cadets leaned forward, hanging on his every word. "At first, we thought it was a glitch. A single ship, small by our standards, hovering just beyond the Crixus Nebula. Our instruments couldn't get a clear reading on its composition or energy signature." Zorax remembered the confusion on his bridge, the debates among his officers about whether to approach or call for backup. In the end, curiosity had won out a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. As we drew closer, we realized it was of human design, but it looked wrong. The hull seemed to shimmer, as if it wasn't fully there. When we hailed them, the response we received chilled me to my core. He closed his eyes, recalling the transmission that had played across his command screen. A human face had appeared, serene and almost amused. Captain Ethan Reyes, he had called himself. "Greetings, Thraxian fleet," the human had said, his voice unnaturally calm. "You have entered restricted space. I'm afraid I can't allow you to leave with the knowledge of what you've seen. Please, power down your weapons and prepare to be processed." Zorax opened his eyes, meeting the gaze of a young cadet in the front row. We laughed, of course. 50 ships against one? It seemed absurd. We thought it was a bluff, a desperate ploy. I gave the order to power up our weapons, to show this lone human the might of the Thraxian Empire. The old captain's mandibles clicked together, a sign of deep distress among his species. That's when everything went wrong. The human ship, it didn't just fight back. It warped reality around us. Our weapons' fire passed right through it, as if it wasn't there. And then, one by one, my ships began to vanish. A collective gasp rippled through the auditorium. Zorax nodded grimly. Not explode, not break apart. They simply ceased to exist. No debris, no escape pods, no distress signals. Just gone. In the span of a few minutes, 49 ships and over 10,000 Thraxians were erased from existence. Zorax's voice cracked, the memory still raw after all this time. I watched helplessly as my entire fleet disappeared around me. And then it was just my ship left, face to face with the human vessel that had defied every law of physics we thought we understood. The cadets were on the edge of their seats now, their young minds struggling to comprehend the horror of what they were hearing. Zorax knew he was shattering their worldview, their sense of security in the galaxy. But they needed to understand. They all needed to understand. What happened next, Zorax said, his voice barely audible, was perhaps the most terrifying part of all. The human captain hailed us again, and he smiled. "Greetings, Captain Zorax Vin," the human's voice echoed through the command deck, each word dripping with an unsettling calm. "I trust you now understand the futility of resistance." Zorax felt his exoskeleton go cold. How did this human know his name? He hadn't transmitted any identification. The bridge crew around him were frozen in terror, their compound eyes fixed on the shimmering image of Captain Ethan Reyes. What are you?" Zorax managed to croak out. The human's smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed too white, too perfect. "We are the future, Captain. A future your kind isn't ready for. But don't worry, we're not monsters. We're giving you a choice." Zorax's mind reeled. A choice. After witnessing the annihilation of his entire fleet, what choice could possibly remain? "You can join your comrades in oblivion," Reyes continued, his tone almost conversational. "Or you can return to your people as the sole survivor. A warning of what lies beyond your borders." The implications hit Zorax like a plasma blast. They were offering to let him live, to carry the message of humanity's terrifying power back to the Thraxian Empire. But at what cost? "Why?" Zorax found himself asking. "Why spare me?" Reyes leaned forward, his image seeming to push through the viewscreen. "Because fear is a powerful tool, Captain. And you will be our instrument of fear." With a gesture, Reyes terminated the transmission. Zorax and his crew were left staring at empty space where moments ago a human ship had hovered. No trace remained of the battle, of the fleet, of anything that had transpired. As Zorax recounted this to the cadets, he could see the horror dawning in their eyes. "I returned to Thorax Prime," he continued, his voice heavy. "I told our leaders what I had seen. Many didn't believe me. How could they? It defied everything we knew about physics, about warfare." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "But the data logs from my ship didn't lie. 50 ships had entered that sector. Only one returned. And in the cycles since, we've heard whispers from other races. The Solarians lost a colony world 8 billion souls, gone without a trace. The Vexen Imperium's home fleet, erased during a training exercise." Zorax's 4 eyes scanned the room, meeting the gaze of each cadet. "You're here to learn about warfare, about protecting our empire. But the most important lesson I can teach you is this: the galaxy is not what we thought it was. Humanity is not what we thought it was." A young cadet in the front row raised a trembling appendage. "Sir," he asked, his voice quavering, "what do we do? How can we fight against something like that?" Zorax's mandibles clicked softly, a sound of resignation. "We can't," he said simply. "That's the point. The humans don't want a war. They want us to know our place." He turned to the holographic display behind him, activating a galactic map. A large swath of space glowed red human territory. "This is why we never cross into the red zone. This is why we maintain our treaties with humanity at all costs. Because we've seen what happens to those who don't." As the cadets absorbed this chilling reality, Zorax couldn't help but wonder about the true nature of the human ship he'd encountered. Was it some form of advanced technology, a weapon beyond their comprehension? Or was it something else entirely, something that challenged the very fabric of reality? Whatever it was, one thing was clear: humanity had changed the rules of the game, and the rest of the galaxy was scrambling to catch up. As Zorax concluded his lecture, a tense silence fell over the auditorium. The young cadets, once eager to learn about galactic warfare, now sat shell-shocked, their mandibles clicking nervously. One cadet, braver than the rest, raised an appendage. "Captain Vin, sir," he began, his voice trembling, "if the humans possess such power, why haven't they conquered the galaxy already?" Zorax's 4 eyes focused on the young Thraxian. "An excellent question, cadet. One that has puzzled our strategists for cycles." He paused, considering his words carefully. "The truth is, we don't know. Perhaps they're content with the territory they have. Or perhaps—" He trailed off, his gaze distant. The cadets leaned forward, hanging on his every word. "Perhaps what we witnessed was just a fraction of their true capabilities. A warning shot, if you will." The implications sent a shudder through the room. Zorax continued, his voice low and grave. "There's something else you should know. Something that's been classified at the highest levels of our government." Zorax activated a holographic display, showing a star chart of a nearby sector. 3 cycles ago, we detected an anomaly in the Zephyrian Nebula, a distortion in space-time that defied our instruments. We sent a probe to investigate. The display zoomed in on a particular region of space, showing a swirling vortex of energy. The probe transmitted for exactly 2.7 seconds before we lost contact. But what it sent back? Well, see for yourself. The image changed to show a massive structure floating in the void. It was unlike anything the cadets had ever seen, a colossal ring, easily the size of a small moon, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. "We believe this is of human origin," Zorax said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Its purpose? Unknown. But given what we've seen of their technology, the possibilities are unsettling." One of the cadets, unable to contain himself, blurted out, "Is it a weapon?" Zorax's mandibles clicked in what might have been a grim smile. "If only it were that simple, Cadet. A weapon we could understand, prepare for. No, we suspect it's something far more profound. A doorway, perhaps, to realms beyond our comprehension." He shut off the hologram, leaving the cadets to stare at empty space. "This is why I'm here today. Not just to warn you of the dangers of crossing human territory, but to prepare you for a future where the very laws of physics might be rewritten." Zorax's gaze swept across the room, taking in the mix of fear and awe on the young faces before him. "You are the next generation of Thraxian defenders, but your greatest challenge won't be mastering our weapons or tactics. It will be adapting to a universe where humanity has changed the rules of existence itself." As he spoke, Zorax couldn't shake the memory of Captain Ethan Ray's serene smile. He had seen something in those human eyes, not malice or aggression, but a profound otherness that still haunted his dreams. "Remember," Zorax concluded, his voice heavy with the weight of his experiences, "the galaxy is vast and full of wonders, but it's also home to terrors beyond our wildest nightmares, and sometimes those terrors wear a human face." The lecture hall remained silent as Zorax gathered his materials. He could see the impact of his words on the young cadets, their worldview irrevocably altered. As he prepared to leave, a final thought occurred to him. "One last thing," he said, turning back to the stunned audience. "If you ever find yourself face to face with a human ship, remember this: what you're seeing may not be what's truly there. Reality itself becomes flexible in their presence." With those cryptic words, Captain Zorax Vin, sole survivor of the Phantom Fleet incident, left the auditorium. Behind him, he left a group of cadets grappling with a universe far more mysterious and terrifying than they had ever imagined. As the doors closed behind him, Zorax couldn't help but wonder, what were the humans planning next? And would the galaxy be ready when they finally revealed their true nature? In the dimly lit corridors of the Thraxian Military Academy, Captain Zorax Vin made his way towards the high-security briefing room. His lecture to the cadets had stirred up memories he'd long tried to suppress, and now his mind buzzed with unanswered questions. As he approached the reinforced doors, a voice called out from behind him, "Captain Vin." Zorax turned to see Siller Pax, the Academy's chief of intelligence, hurrying towards him. The younger Thraxian's exoskeleton gleamed under the harsh lighting, a stark contrast to Zorax's battle-scarred carapace. "Commander Pax," Zorax acknowledged with a slight inclination of his head. "I trust you observed the lecture." Siller's mandibles clicked in affirmation. "Indeed, Captain, your account was most unsettling, but there's been a development. That's why I've called this emergency meeting." The doors hissed open, revealing a room dominated by a large holographic projector. Several high-ranking Thraxian officials were already seated around it, their expressions grave. As Zorax took his seat, Siller activated the projector. A three-dimensional star map flickered to life, zooming in on a sector near the human border. 12 hours ago," Siller began, his voice tense, "we detected an anomaly similar to the one you encountered 5 cycles ago, Captain." Zorax felt his exoskeleton grow cold. "Similar how?" "Energy signatures that defy our understanding of physics. Spatial distortions, and—" Siller paused, his compound eyes flickering nervously. "A ship of human design." The room erupted in a chorus of clicking mandibles and agitated whispers. Zorax leaned forward, his 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display. Where exactly was this anomaly detected? Siller zoomed in further on the map. Here, in the Nexus Void, it's a region of space we've long avoided due to its unpredictable gravitational fluctuations. One of the officials, Admiral Kirox Lumen, spoke up. The Nexus Void? That's dangerously close to the Solarian home world. Could this be a prelude to an invasion? Zorax shook his head. If the humans wanted to invade, Admiral, they could have done so long ago. No, this is something else. He stood up, moving closer to the hologram. Commander Pax, can you show us the ship? Siller nodded, manipulating the controls. The star map faded, replaced by a grainy image of a sleek vessel. It bore a striking resemblance to the ship Zorax had encountered years ago, with the same shimmering, not quite their quality to its hull. It's them, Zorax whispered, a mix of awe and dread in his voice. The Phantom Fleet. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Admiral Lumen spoke again. What are our options? We can't just sit back and do nothing. Zorax turned to face the gathered officials. With all due respect, Admiral, that's exactly what we must do. Any aggressive action on our part could be catastrophic. So we just watch, another official demanded. Wait for them to erase another fleet, another world? Zorax's mandibles clicked in frustration. You don't understand. We're not dealing with conventional warfare here. The humans, they're operating on a level we can't comprehend. Our weapons, our strategies, they're useless against an enemy that can bend reality itself. He gestured to the image of the human ship. This vessel, it's not just a ship. It's a statement. They're letting us see them, knowing we can do nothing about it. It's a reminder of our place in the cosmic hierarchy. The room fell into an uneasy silence as Zorax's words sank in. Finally, Siller Pax cleared his throat. There's one more thing, Captain. We've intercepted a transmission from the human vessel. It's addressed to you. Zorax felt all 4 of his hearts skip a beat. To me? Are you certain? Siller nodded grimly. It's encrypted, but the header clearly states, for the attention of Captain Zorax Vin, sole survivor of the Phantom Fleet incident. The room's attention focused on Zorax, a mix of fear and curiosity in their eyes. He stood there, frozen, as the weight of the situation bore down on him. After all these years, why would the humans reach out to him now? And more importantly, what message could they possibly have that would warrant such a dramatic delivery? Play it, Zorax commanded, his voice barely above a whisper. Siller hesitated for a moment, then nodded. He input a series of commands, and suddenly, the holographic display flickered. The image of the human ship vanished, replaced by the face of Captain Ethan Reyes himself. The human looked exactly as Zorax remembered him, ageless, with that unsettling smile that never quite reached his eyes. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Greetings, Captain Zorax Vin, Reyes began, his tone casual, as if they were old friends. I trust the years have treated you well. I apologize for the dramatic method of contact, but I'm afraid subtlety is a luxury we can no longer afford. Zorax felt the eyes of every Thraxian in the room upon him, but he couldn't look away from Reyes' face. You've played your part admirably, Captain, Reyes continued. The fear you've spread, the stories you've told, they've kept the galaxy at bay, just as we intended. But now, I'm afraid, we need more from you. Admiral Lumen leaned forward, his mandibles clicking furiously. What is he talking about, Vin? What part? But Zorax barely heard him. His entire focus was on Reyes' next words. The Nexus Void isn't just another region of space, Captain. It's a gateway, one that your people have been dancing around for centuries without realizing its true nature. And now, it's opening. The hologram shifted, showing the massive ring structure Zorax had revealed to the cadets earlier. But now it was active, pulsing with energy, a swirling vortex at its center. What you're seeing, Reyes explained, is a doorway to realities beyond your comprehension. Realities where the laws of physics as you understand them are mere suggestions. This is the source of our power, the reason for our uniqueness. Zorax felt his heart racing. The implications were staggering, if what Reyes was saying was true. But every doorway swings both ways, Captain, Reyes continued, his expression growing serious for the first time. And I'm afraid something is coming through, something that makes our little demonstration with your fleet look like a child's game. The hologram shifted again, showing a mass of writhing, impossible geometries emerging from the vortex. It hurt to look at, as if the very sight of it was an affront to reality. We need your help, Captain Vin, Reyes said, his voice urgent now. You're the only one who truly understands what we are, what we can do. And you're the only one who can convince your people and the rest of the galaxy to join us in the fight to come. Reyes leaned closer, his eyes boring into Zorax's. The coordinates for a rendezvous point are embedded in this transmission. Come alone. The fate of not just your galaxy, but all realities, hangs in the balance. With that, the transmission cut off, leaving the room in stunned silence. Zorax stood there, his mind reeling. He had spent years fearing the humans, spreading tales of their terrible power. But now, faced with the truth, he realized that fear might be the only thing that could save them all. Admiral Lumen was the first to break the silence. This is clearly a trap, Captain. You can't seriously be considering meeting with them. Zorax turned to face his fellow Thraxians, seeing the mix of fear and confusion in their eyes. And if it's not a trap, Admiral? If what Reyes says is true, and there's something out there worse than the humans. Siller Pax stepped forward, his mandibles clicking nervously. Captain, with all due respect, we can't base our actions on the word of an enemy who has already demonstrated their willingness to destroy entire fleets. An enemy who spared me, Zorax countered. An enemy who could have conquered us years ago, but chose not to. We need to consider the possibility that there's more to this situation than we understand. The room erupted into heated debate. Some officials argued for immediate military action against the human ship, while others insisted on retreating and fortifying their defenses. Zorax listened to it all, his mind racing with possibilities. Finally, he raised all four of his arms, silencing the room. I will go, he announced, his voice firm with resolve. Captain, no, Siller protested. It's too dangerous. We can't lose you, you're our only source of information on the Phantom Fleet. Zorax's mandibles clicked in what might have been a sad smile. That's precisely why I must go, Commander. I'm the only one who has faced them and lived. The only one they trust to understand the gravity of this situation. He turned to Admiral Lumen. Prepare my ship. I'll need our most advanced stealth technology and sensor arrays. Lumen hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. And if this is a trap, if you don't return? Then you'll know that the humans are indeed our enemy, Zorax replied. But if I do return, if what Reyes says is true, we may be facing a threat that requires us to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about the galaxy and our place in it. As the officials filed out of the room, each lost in their own thoughts, Zorax remained behind, staring at the now empty holographic projector. The image of the writhing, impossible geometries Reyes had shown them was burned into his mind. What could be so terrible that even the reality-bending humans feared it? And more importantly, what role did they expect him, a simple Thraxian captain, to play in the cosmic drama that was unfolding? As he left the briefing room, Zorax couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into a chapter of galactic history that would be remembered for eons to come. Whether as the dawn of a new era of cooperation or the beginning of the end for all known reality, only time would tell. One thing was certain, the universe as they knew it was about to change forever. The sleek Thraxian scout ship glided silently through the void, its stealth systems engaged to maximum capacity. In the cockpit, Captain Zorax Vin sat alone, his four eyes fixed on the swirling anomaly ahead. The rendezvous coordinates had led him to the edge of the Nexus void, a region of space that pulsed with otherworldly energy. As he approached, Zorax couldn't shake the feeling that he was crossing a threshold, not just in space, but in the very fabric of reality. The ship's sensors were going haywire, unable to make sense of the readings they were receiving. Suddenly, a familiar shimmering appeared before him. The human ship materialized as if from thin air, its impossible hull defying the laws of physics. Zorax's heart raced as a transmission came through. "Captain Vin," the calm voice of Ethan Reyes filled the cockpit. "I'm glad you came. Please, dock with us. There's much to discuss, and time is of the essence." Zorax hesitated for a moment, then steered his ship towards the waiting docking port. As the airlock sealed, he took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever lay ahead. The interior of the human ship was unlike anything Zorax had ever seen. Corridors seemed to bend in impossible ways, and surfaces shimmered with an inner light that hurt to look at directly. He was led to a large chamber where Captain Reyes waited, along with several other humans. "Welcome aboard the Reality Weaver, Captain," Reyes said, gesturing around the room. "I apologize for the disorienting nature of our vessel. It's a side effect of existing partially outside conventional space-time." Zorax's mandibles clicked nervously. "You said something was coming through the void. Something worse than you. What did you mean?" Rey's expression grew grave. He activated a holographic display, showing the writhing mass Zorax had seen in the earlier transmission. "We call them the Void Eaters. They exist in the spaces between realities, consuming entire universes. And now, they found a way into ours." The implications hit Zorax like a plasma blast. "Is this why you've kept your true nature hidden? Why you've used fear to keep the galaxy at bay?" Reyes nodded. "We needed time to prepare, to build our defenses. The Phantom Fleet, as you call it, was just the beginning. We've been reshaping reality itself to create weapons capable of fighting the Void Eaters." "But why reveal this now? Why involve me?" Zorax asked, his mind reeling from the revelations. "Because the Void Eaters are adapting faster than we anticipated," another human, introduced as Dr. Mia Lawson, interjected. "We need allies. The combined creativity and resilience of all sentient species might be our only hope." Reyes turned to Zorax, his eyes intense. "You've seen what we can do, Captain. You understand the stakes. We need you to be our ambassador to the galaxy, to convince them that the threat is real, and that humanity isn't the enemy they should fear." Zorax's mind raced. The fate of not just his people, but all of reality, hung in the balance. Could he trust these humans? Did he have a choice? Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The holographic display erupted into chaos, showing a massive tear forming in the fabric of space-time. "They're here," Reyes said, his voice tight with tension. "The Void Eaters have breached our reality." As Zorax watched in horror, impossible shapes began pouring through the rift. The laws of physics seemed to break down around them, space itself warping and twisting. Reyes turned to Zorax, his eyes blazing with determination. "This is it, Captain. The moment where every species in the galaxy must stand together or fall into oblivion. Are you with us?" Zorax looked from the terrifying display to the faces of the humans around him. In that moment, he understood that the universe was far stranger and more perilous than he had ever imagined. But he also realized that in the face of such cosmic horror, the differences between species meant nothing. Drawing himself up to his full height, Zorax met Rey's gaze. "I'm with you, for the sake of all realities." "Excellent," Reyes nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Dr. Lawson, initiate the reality anchor." Mia Lawson's fingers flew over a console that seemed to phase in and out of existence. The ship shuddered, and Zorax felt a wave of nausea wash over him as the very fabric of space around them began to ripple. "What's happening?" Zorax asked, his mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. "We're stabilizing this pocket of reality," Reyes explained, his eyes fixed on the rift. "It's the only way we can fight them on somewhat equal terms." As Zorax watched, the writhing shapes emerging from the rift began to take more definite form. They were vast, eldritch things that hurt the mind to look upon, tentacles and geometries that shouldn't exist intertwining in impossible ways. "How do we fight such things?" Zorax asked, his voice barely a whisper. Reyes turned to him, his expression deadly serious. "With the power of creation itself, Captain. You're about to see why we've been so feared, and why that fear was necessary." At a nod from Reyes, Lawson activated another set of controls. The reality weaver began to hum with power, and Zorax felt the air around him become charged with potential. "Watch closely, Captain," Reyes said, "and remember everything you see. The galaxy needs to know what they're up against, and what we're capable of." With a gesture that seemed to tear at the very fabric of space, Reyes reached out towards the Void Eaters. Energy crackled from his fingertips, coalescing into shapes that defied Zorax's understanding, weapons that seemed to be made of pure concept rather than matter. As the battle began in earnest, Zorax realized he was witnessing something beyond war, beyond physics, beyond anything his species had ever imagined. This was reality itself being weaponized, the fundamental forces of the universe bent to the will of beings who had transcended normal existence. And in that moment, as he watched humans reshape the cosmos to combat horrors from beyond, Zorax understood the true meaning of humanity. Fuck yeah. It wasn't just about military might or technological superiority. It was about the sheer, terrifying potential of a species that had learned to harness the power of reality itself. The fate of the galaxy, of all realities, now rested on this impossible battle, and Zorax knew that his role was just beginning. If they survived this, he would have to convey the magnitude of what he had witnessed to a galaxy that had no frame of reference for such cosmic warfare. As another wave of Void Eaters poured through the rift, Zorax steeled himself for what was to come. The universe as he knew it was ending, but perhaps, just perhaps, something even more extraordinary would take its place. The battle raged on, defying all conventional understanding of warfare. Zorax watched in awe as the humans wielded forces he could barely comprehend. Captain Reyes moved like a conductor, orchestrating reality itself to combat the Void Eaters. Streams of pure energy lanced from the reality weaver, not so much destroying the eldritch horrors as rewriting their very existence. Where the beams struck, the Void Eaters seemed to unravel, their impossible geometries collapsing in on themselves. "Captain Vin," Dr. Lawson called out, her voice strained with concentration. "We need your help." Zorax snapped out of his stupor. "What can I possibly do against such forces?" Reyes turned to him, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "Your mind, Captain. Your perspective. We've been fighting this war for so long. We've lost touch with conventional reality. We need your grounded viewpoint to anchor our efforts." Understanding dawned on Zorax. This was why they had brought him here, why they needed allies from across the galaxy. The humans had become so adept at bending reality that they risked losing themselves in the process. Zorax stepped forward, his four eyes scanning the chaotic battlefield. He began to call out patterns, pointing out vulnerabilities in the Void Eaters' assault that the humans, in their transcendent state, had overlooked. As he spoke, Reyes and his crew adjusted their reality-warping attacks. The tide of battle began to turn. The rift, once a gaping maw of cosmic horror, started to shrink. "It's working," Lawson exclaimed. "The dimensional barrier is stabilizing." But their victory was short-lived. As the rift collapsed, one final Void Eater, larger and more terrifying than the rest, forced its way through. It lashed out with tendrils of unreality, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time. "Brace for impact," Reyes shouted. The reality weaver shuddered as the attack hit. Zorax felt his very being flicker, as if he were being erased from existence. In that moment of cosmic uncertainty, a strange calm washed over him. "Captain Reyes," Zorax said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "I understand now. The fear you instilled in us, the power you demonstrated, it was all preparation for this moment." Reyes nodded grimly. "We needed the galaxy to be ready. to understand that there are forces out there beyond conventional comprehension. But we also needed allies who could remind us of what we're fighting for. With a shared look of understanding, Human and Thraxian turned to face the final Void Eater. Reyes raised his hands, reality bending around him, while Zorax provided tactical insights, his grounded perspective guiding the human's godlike powers. In a blinding flash of light that seemed to rewrite the very stars, the last Void Eater was unmade. The rift sealed with a thunderous clap, leaving behind an eerie silence. As the glow of battle faded, Zorax looked around the command center of the Reality Weaver. The humans appeared drained, their earlier godlike aura diminished. They looked almost normal. "Is it over?" Zorax asked, hardly daring to believe it. Reyes smiled wearily. "This battle is, yes, but the war has just begun, and we'll need every species in the galaxy if we hope to win." Zorax nodded, understanding the monumental task ahead. "I'll tell them. I'll make them understand what's at stake." As the Reality Weaver prepared to return him to Thraxian space, Zorax realized that his life's purpose had become clear. He would be the bridge between conventional reality and the mind-bending truths he had witnessed. He would prepare the galaxy for a war unlike any other, a war for the very nature of existence itself. The Phantom Fleet, once a source of terror, would become a beacon of hope, and humanity, in all its reality-defying glory, would stand alongside the rest of the galaxy against the horrors that lurked between the stars. As Zorax's ship detached from the Reality Weaver, he looked back at the human vessel. It shimmered once, twice, and then vanished, leaving behind only stars and the lingering sense of a universe forever changed. The real battle, Zorax knew, was just beginning. But for the first time since he had encountered that lone human ship all those years ago, he felt something he had thought long lost: hope. Captain Zorax Vin stood before the Galactic Council, his 4 eyes scanning the assembled representatives of a dozen different species. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy, mandibles clicking and tentacles writhing as the delegates whispered among themselves. "Esteemed members of the Council," Zorax began, his voice steady despite the weight of his message, "I come before you today with news that will shake the very foundations of our understanding of the universe." He activated a holographic display, showing the terrifying images of the Void Eaters and the reality-bending battle he had witnessed aboard the human ship, Reality Weaver. Gasps and cries of disbelief echoed through the chamber. "What you're seeing is not a fabrication or a nightmare," Zorax continued. "It is a threat that exists beyond the boundaries of our reality, a force that seeks to unmake everything we know and love." A Solarian representative, his crystalline form shimmering with agitation, spoke up. "And you expect us to believe that the humans, the very beings who have terrorized our borders for cycles, are our saviors?" Zorax's mandibles clicked in acknowledgement of the question's weight. "I understand your skepticism, Counselor. I, too, once saw the humans as nothing more than a terrifying enemy. But what I've witnessed has shown me that their actions, however frightening, were necessary preparation for the war to come." He gestured to the holographic display, now showing Captain Ethan Reyes manipulating the fabric of reality itself. "The humans have evolved beyond our comprehension, yes, but they've done so to stand as a bulwark against horrors that would consume us all." The chamber erupted into heated debate. Some counselors called for immediate action, while others demanded more proof. As Zorax watched the chaos unfold, he couldn't help but wonder if the galaxy could unite in time to face the coming storm. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the council chamber. The holographic display flickered and changed, showing a massive spatial anomaly forming just outside the station's shields. "By the void," Zorax whispered, recognizing the telltale signs of a reality rift. As the counselors panicked, Zorax's communicator crackled to life. Captain Rey's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Zorax, we're detecting a major incursion near your location. We're on our way, but you need to evacuate the station now." As Zorax rushed to organize an evacuation, he caught a glimpse of something impossible through the station's viewports. A colossal, writhing mass was pushing its way through the rift, its very presence warping the space around it. The Void Eaters had arrived, and the galaxy was woefully unprepared. In that moment, as panic and chaos erupted around him, Zorax realized that his mission had just become far more complicated. It was no longer just about convincing the galaxy of the threat, but about leading them through the fire that was about to engulf them all. As the first tendrils of unreality began to breach the station's shields, Zorax steeled himself for the battle to come. The fate of not just his people, but all of known space, now rested on what happened in the next few moments. The reality crucible had begun, and Zorax found himself at the very heart of it. The council chamber descended into chaos as the Void Eater's presence became undeniable. Zorax's voice cut through the panic, years of military training taking over. "Everyone, remain calm and proceed to the emergency shuttles," he commanded, his forearms gesturing towards the exits. "This is not a drill. Move quickly but orderly." As the counselors rushed to evacuate, Zorax's communicator crackled again. "Zorax," Ray's voice came through, strained with effort. "We're engaging the entity now, but this one's different. Stronger. We need your perspective again." Zorax hesitated, torn between his duty to ensure the counselor's safety and the urgent need to assist Ray's. A Theraxian aide approached him, mandibles clicking nervously. "Captain, the last of the shuttles are preparing to launch. You must go now." Making a split-second decision, Zorax shook his head. "No, I'm staying. Get everyone else to safety." Before the aide could protest, Zorax turned away, focusing on the viewport where the Reality Weaver had just shimmered into existence, facing the monstrous Void Eater. "I'm here, Raze," Zorax spoke into his communicator. "What do you need?" "We're having trouble pinning this one down," Raze replied. "Its form keeps shifting, adapting to our attacks. Can you see any patterns?" Zorax studied the cosmic battle unfolding before him. The Void Eater was indeed unlike any he'd seen before. Its form was a constantly shifting mass of tentacles, geometric shapes, and swirling voids. But as he watched, he began to notice something. "There's a rhythm to its changes," Zorax observed. "It's not random. It's cycling through forms, each one lasting approximately 12 seconds before shifting." "Good catch," Raze acknowledged. "Mia, can you sync our reality anchors to that rhythm?" Dr. Lawson's voice came through, tense but determined. "On it, Captain." The Reality Weaver's attacks suddenly changed, becoming more precise and effective. Beams of pure concept lanced out, striking the Void Eater at the exact moment it shifted forms, causing it to writhe in what Zorax could only assume was pain. But the creature was far from defeated. It lashed out with tendrils of unreality, narrowly missing the Reality Weaver, but striking the council station. Zorax felt the floor beneath him shudder and warp. "Zorax, get out of there!" Raze shouted. "The station's structural integrity is compromised." But Zorax stood his ground, eyes fixed on the battle. "Wait," he said, noticing a new pattern. "It's protecting something. Every time you strike near its center, it shifts forms more rapidly." Ray's voice came back, a note of realization in it. "It's not just a Void Eater. It's a carrier. Mia, focus all power on its core. We need to see what's inside." The Reality Weaver unleashed a barrage of attacks, each one more mind-bending than the last. Space itself seemed to fold and unfold around the Void Eater. With a sound that defied description, a reality rending something between a shriek and an implosion, the creature's form finally collapsed. In its place, floating in the void, was a swirling orb of energy. Within it, Zorax could make out shapes moving, forms that seemed almost familiar. "By the void," Raze breathed. "Those are Theraxians, but not like any I've ever seen." Zorax stared in disbelief. The beings within the orb were indeed Theraxian in basic form, but they shimmered and shifted like the humans did when wielding their reality-bending powers. Before anyone could react further, the orb pulsed once, twice, and then vanished in a flash of light that seared itself into Zorax's retinas. As his vision cleared, Zorax found himself floating in space, the council station having disappeared entirely. The reality weaver shimmered nearby, a docking port opening invitingly. As Zorax propelled himself towards the human ship, his mind raced. What had they just witnessed? Were those really his people? And if so, what did it mean for the war they were fighting? The reality crucible had just become far more complex, and Zorax had a sinking feeling that the lines between ally and enemy were about to blur in ways none of them were prepared for. Aboard the reality weaver, Zorax found himself in the ship's command center, surrounded by the grim faces of Captain Reyes and his crew. The air was thick with tension and unspoken questions. What in the name of all realities were those things? Zorax asked, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. Reyes ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Zorax had come to recognize as a sign of the human's frustration. We're not entirely sure, but we have a theory, Dr. Lawson. Mia Lawson stepped forward, her eyes fixed on a holographic display of the energy orb they'd witnessed. Based on our initial scans, those entities appear to be Thraxians who have been altered by prolonged exposure to void energies. Zorax felt his heart sink. Are you saying my people are being transformed into void eaters? Not exactly, Lawson clarified. It's more like they've been infused with reality warping abilities similar to our own. But the process seems incomplete, unstable. Reyes nodded grimly. Which might explain why they were contained within that void eater. It could have been acting as a sort of incubator or transport. The implications hit Zorax like a plasma blast. If the void eaters can do this to Thraxians, what's to stop them from transforming other species? The entire galaxy could be at risk. That's what we're afraid of, Reyes admitted. And it gets worse. We've been detecting similar anomalies across multiple sectors. Whatever's happening, it's not isolated. A sudden thought struck Zorax. The council members, the ones who evacuated, we need to warn them. If word of this spreads without proper context, it could cause panic throughout the galaxy. Reyes nodded in agreement. You're right. But we need to be careful about how we present this information. The last thing we need is for every species to start viewing their neighbors as potential void-corrupted threats. As if on cue, the ship's alarms blared. A crewmember called out, "Captain, we're receiving distress signals from multiple systems. Reports of spatial anomalies and beings that match the description of what we just encountered." Rey's expression hardened. It's spreading faster than we anticipated. Zorax, we need to split up. I'll take the Reality Weaver to address these incursions. You need to get to the Galactic Council's emergency rendezvous point and manage the diplomatic fallout. Zorax felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Agreed. But how am I supposed to convince them of the truth without proof? And more importantly, how do we fight an enemy that can turn our own people against us? Reyes placed a hand on Zorax's shoulder, a gesture that would have once terrified the Thraxian but now brought a strange comfort. We'll figure it out together. Humanity didn't master reality manipulation overnight, and we didn't do it alone. The key to winning this war might just lie in teaching others to do what we do. As the Reality Weaver prepared to drop Zorax off at a nearby outpost with a fast ship, he couldn't shake a feeling of dread. The galaxy was about to change in ways no one could predict, and he was at the center of it all. "Captain," Zorax said as he prepared to disembark, "be careful out there, and if you encounter any more of those transformed Thraxians." Reyes nodded solemnly. "We'll do everything in our power to save them. Zorax, you have my word." As Zorax watched the Reality Weaver shimmer and vanish, he steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The reality crucible was heating up, and the fate of every sentient being in the galaxy hung in the balance. With a deep breath, Zorax boarded his new ship. It was time to rally the galaxy for a war unlike any they had ever faced. A war where the enemy could be anyone, and reality itself was a battlefield. Zorax's ship streaked through space, pushing its engines to the limit as he raced towards the Galactic Council's emergency rendezvous point. His mind whirled with the enormity of the task before him. How could he possibly convey the complex, reality-bending threat they faced to a group of politicians who could barely agree on trade regulations? As he approached the coordinates, he saw a massive space station looming ahead. Unlike the ornate council chambers he'd left behind, this was a utilitarian structure built for function rather than form. Dozens of ships from various species were docked or hovering nearby, a testament to the urgency of the situation. Zorax docked his ship and made his way to the main conference room. As he entered, a hush fell over the assembled counselors. Their eyes, stalks, and various sensory organs all focused on him with a mixture of hope and suspicion. Captain Ven, the Solarian representative from earlier, addressed him, crystal form glinting under the harsh lights. "We've received disturbing reports from across the galaxy. Spatial anomalies, impossible creatures, entire populations vanishing. What in the void is going on?" Zorax took a deep breath. "Counselors, what I'm about to tell you will challenge everything you think you know about our universe. The threat we face is beyond anything we've encountered before. It's not just an enemy we can fight with ships and weapons. We're up against beings that can reshape reality itself." He activated a holographic display, showing footage from his encounter on the Reality Weaver. The counselors watched in stunned silence as images of the Void Eaters and the reality-warping battle played out before them. "But that's not all," Zorax continued, his voice grave. "We've discovered that these entities, these Void Eaters, have the ability to transform other beings, to infuse them with similar reality-altering powers." A murmur of disbelief and fear rippled through the room. An avian counselor, feathers bristling with agitation, spoke up. "Are you saying that anyone could be turned into one of these things? How can we possibly fight an enemy that can use our own people against us?" Zorax's mandibles clicked in acknowledgement of the difficult question. "The situation is dire, but not hopeless. The humans have been preparing for this threat for years. Their mastery over reality manipulation is our best defense against the Void Eaters." "The humans?" another counselor scoffed. "The same humans who have terrorized our borders and erased entire fleets, and we're supposed to trust them now." "I understand your skepticism," Zorax replied. "I once shared it. But I've seen firsthand what the humans can do, and more importantly, why they've done it. Everything, the Phantom Fleet, the shows of force, it was all preparation for this moment. They needed us to be ready, to understand that there are forces out there beyond our comprehension." The room erupted into heated debate. Some counselors called for immediate alliance with the humans, while others demanded isolation and fortification of their own worlds. Zorax watched the chaos unfold, realizing that uniting the galaxy would be even harder than he'd imagined. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. A voice came over the intercom, panic evident in its tone. "Multiple spatial anomalies detected. Unknown entities emerging. They're everywhere." Zorax rushed to the nearest viewport, his heart sinking at what he saw. Rifts were opening all around the station, and through them poured creatures that defied description. Some looked like twisted versions of known species, while others were wholly alien, their forms constantly shifting and changing. As panic gripped the council chamber, Zorax knew that the time for words had passed. The reality crucible had come to them, ready or not. Now, he would have to lead by example to show the galaxy firsthand what it meant to stand against the impossible. "Counselors," he shouted above the din, "if we're to have any hope of survival, we must stand together, now." With that, Zorax charged towards the station's defense systems, praying to whatever cosmic forces might be listening that Captain Reyes and the Reality Weaver weren't too far away. The fate of the galaxy would be decided here, and now, in a battle that would reshape the very nature of existence itself. Chaos erupted throughout the station as the void-twisted entities poured through the rifts. Zorax sprinted down corridors, barking orders to security personnel and guiding panicked diplomats to safety. His military training kicked in, allowing him to maintain a semblance of control amidst the madness. "Seal off sections B through F," he commanded into his communicator. "Divert all power to the reality stabilization fields." As he rounded a corner, Zorax came face to face with one of the transformed beings. It had the basic shape of a Solarian, but its crystalline form swirled with impossible colors and geometries that hurt to look at directly. The creature reached out with an appendage that seemed to phase in and out of existence. Zorax dodged, feeling reality warp around him as the entity's touch narrowly missed. He had no weapons that could harm such a being, but he remembered something Captain Reyes had told him about focusing his thoughts, about the power of consciousness to influence reality at a quantum level. Concentrating hard, Zorax imagined a barrier between himself and the creature. To his astonishment, the air shimmered, and the entity's next attack bounced off an invisible shield. "By the void," Zorax whispered, staring at his own hands in disbelief. Had he just manipulated reality? There was no time to ponder this development. More entities were pouring into the corridor. Zorax retreated, leading them away from the evacuating counselors. As he ran, he continued to focus his thoughts, creating barriers and diversions that seemed to confuse and slow the pursuing creatures. He burst into the station's main control room, quickly sealing the doors behind him. Inside, a mix of security personnel and council aides worked frantically at various consoles. "Status report," Zorax demanded. A Thoraxian officer turned to him, mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. "Captain, we're losing containment on multiple decks. These entities, they're not just attacking, they're changing the station itself. Look." Zorax looked at the main view screen and felt his heart sink. Entire sections of the station were transforming, twisting into impossible shapes that defied the laws of physics. In some areas, the very fabric of space seemed to be folding in on itself. "We need to evacuate," Zorax decided. "Send out a general distress call on all frequencies, and someone get me a direct line to the Reality Weaver." As the crew scrambled to obey, Zorax felt a strange sensation wash over him. The air around him began to shimmer, and he felt a presence in his mind, alien yet somehow familiar. "Captain Zorax Vin," a voice echoed in his head, sounding like a chorus of Thoraxian voices speaking in unison. "We have been waiting for you." Zorax spun around, finding himself face to face with a group of the transformed Thoraxians he had seen earlier. They hovered in the air, their forms flickering between solid and ethereal. "Who? What are you?" Zorax asked, his voice barely a whisper. "We are the future," the beings replied in unison. "The next step in Thoraxian evolution. And you, Captain, are the key to our ascension." Before Zorax could respond, the room around him began to warp and shift. The control room melted away, replaced by a swirling vortex of energy and impossible geometries. Zorax felt his very being start to unravel, his consciousness expanding beyond the confines of his physical form. In that moment of cosmic awareness, Zorax understood the true nature of the reality crucible. It wasn't just a war against outside invaders. It was a fundamental shift in the very fabric of existence, with every sentient being in the galaxy facing a choice: evolve or be left behind in a universe that no longer played by the old rules. As Zorax teetered on the brink of transformation, caught between his physical form and something far beyond, he sent out one last desperate thought. "Reyes, if you can hear me, the game has changed. The reality crucible isn't just changing our world, it's changing us." With that, Zorax felt his consciousness expand to cosmic proportions, and the universe as he knew it fell away. Zorax floated in a sea of infinite possibilities, his consciousness expanded beyond anything he had ever imagined. Time and space lost all meaning as he perceived the universe in its totality, from the quantum foam of subatomic particles to the vast cosmic web of galaxies. In this state of cosmic awareness, he could see the true nature of the reality crucible. It wasn't just a war or an invasion, but a fundamental shift in the very fabric of existence. The boundaries between realities were breaking down, and the laws of physics were being rewritten on a universal scale. Suddenly, Zorax felt a familiar presence. Captain Ethan Ray's consciousness brushed against his own, a beacon of stability in the chaotic sea of infinite realities. Zorax, Ray's voice echoed through the cosmic void. Focus on my voice. Don't lose yourself in the infinity. Remember who you are, what you're fighting for. With tremendous effort, Zorax pulled his consciousness back, condensing his expanded awareness into a form that was still recognizably him. As he did so, the swirling chaos around him began to take shape, resolving into a scene of cosmic battle. The Reality Weaver was engaged in combat with multiple Void Eaters, reality-warping energies clashing in a display that defied description. But now, with his enhanced perception, Zorax could see the intricate patterns in the chaos, the underlying structure of the universe bending and flexing with each reality-altering attack. Raise, Zorax communicated, his thoughts transmitting directly to the human captain. I understand now. The transformed beings, the Void Eaters, they're not just invaders. They're catalysts for change, pushing the universe towards a new state of existence. I know, Ray's replied, his mental voice strained with effort as he directed the Reality Weaver's defenses. But not everyone is ready for that change. If it happens too fast, too violently, it could tear the fabric of reality apart completely. Zorax focused his newly expanded consciousness, analyzing the patterns of the battle around him. There's a rhythm to it, a cosmic dance of creation and destruction. If we can synchronize with it, guide it instead of fighting it. Do it, Ray's commanded. The Reality Weaver will follow your lead. Drawing upon his military experience and his new cosmic awareness, Zorax began to direct the flow of the battle. He didn't fight against the reality warps, but instead guided them, shaping the chaos into more stable forms. The Reality Weaver responded, its attacks changing from destructive force to transformative energy. The Void Eaters, caught off guard by this new approach, began to falter. As the tide of battle turned, Zorax became aware of other consciousnesses joining the cosmic dance. The transformed Theraxians, the council members who had begun to evolve, even some of the Void Eaters themselves, all were being drawn into a new pattern of existence. It's working, Ray's exclaimed. The rifts are stabilizing, reality is realigning itself. But even as victory seemed within reach, Zorax sensed a disturbance. A presence, vast and ancient, stirring in the depths of a void between realities. Raise, Zorax communicated urgently. There's something else out there. Something bigger than the Void Eaters, older than the universe itself. I think we've attracted its attention. The cosmic battlefield fell silent as an entity beyond comprehension began to make its presence known. Zorax and Raise, along with every evolved being in the vicinity, felt a sense of awe and terror as they faced the true architect of the reality crucible. As the entity's consciousness brushed against theirs, Zorax realized that the real battle for the future of existence was only just beginning. The choices they made in the next few moments would determine the fate of not just their galaxy, but of all possible realities. Brace yourself, Raise, Zorax thought, gathering his courage. We're about to face the source of it all. The universe held its breath as the cosmic entity fully manifested, ready to pass judgment on the beings who had dared to reshape reality itself. The cosmic entity's presence engulfed them, a consciousness so vast and alien that it defied comprehension. Zorax felt his newly expanded awareness straining to encompass even a fraction of its totality. Beside him, he sensed Raise and the crew of the Reality Weaver struggling to maintain their cohesion in the face of such overwhelming cosmic force. We are the architects of infinity. A voice that was not a voice resonated through the fabric of reality itself. You have disturbed the grand design, little motes of awareness. Zorax gathered his courage, projecting his thoughts towards the entity. We seek only to protect our realm, to guide the evolution of our reality in a way that doesn't destroy everything we know. The entity's attention focused on Zorax, and he felt the weight of eons pressing down upon his consciousness. You speak of protection, yet you wield forces beyond your understanding. The reality crucible was not meant for lesser beings to tamper with. Ray's consciousness surged forward, intertwining with Zorax's in a show of unity. "We may be lesser beings to you, but we have the right to fight for our existence. The Void Eaters threaten to unmake everything we hold dear." The Void Eaters, the architects of infinity resonated, are but one facet of the cosmic cycle. Destruction and creation, chaos and order, all must be in balance for the multiverse to thrive. Images flooded their minds, showing countless realities blooming and withering, cosmic cycles playing out across an infinite canvas of existence. Zorax and Reyes saw the bigger picture, the grand design that the architects sought to maintain. But something else became clear in that moment of cosmic insight. The architects, for all their power and knowledge, were bound by their own rules, their own cosmic bureaucracy. "You're afraid," Zorax realized, the thought echoing across realities. "Afraid of change, of the unpredictability we represent." The cosmic presence rippled with something akin to surprise. "Fear is a concept for lesser beings. We simply maintain the balance." Reyes seized on this opening. "But balance doesn't mean stagnation. Our ability to adapt, to change the very rules of reality. That's a form of evolution you didn't anticipate, isn't it?" The architect's presence wavered, and in that moment of uncertainty, Zorax saw their path forward. "We propose a new balance," Zorax proclaimed, his consciousness expanding to encompass the transformed beings around them, the evolved council members, even the reformed Void Eaters. "Not a reality dictated solely by cosmic laws, but one shaped by the collective will and creativity of all sentient beings." "Impossible," the architects boomed. "Such chaos would unravel the very fabric of existence." "Not chaos," Reyes countered, "but a new kind of order. One that allows for growth, for change, for the kind of innovation that even you, in your cosmic wisdom, couldn't foresee." Zorax felt the support of countless minds behind him, not just from their galaxy, but from across the multiverse. Beings on the cusp of their own cosmic awakening, reaching out across the boundaries of reality. "We stand at a crossroads," Zorax declared. "You can try to reset the cosmic order, to erase the changes we've wrought. But in doing so, you'd be destroying the very thing you seek to preserve, the potential for true cosmic evolution." The presence of the architects seemed to withdraw slightly, as if considering their words. For a moment that stretched into eternity, the fate of all realities hung in the balance. Finally, the cosmic voice resonated once more. "You propose a dangerous path, one fraught with risks beyond your comprehension. But also with possibilities beyond even your imagination," Reyes added. There was another pause, this one filled with a sense of cosmic shifting, of fundamental laws being rewritten at the most basic level of existence. "So be it," the architects declared. "We will allow this experiment to proceed. But know this, children of the cosmos, with great power comes great responsibility. The fate of all realities now rests in your hands." As the presence of the architects faded, Zorax and Reyes found themselves back in normal space. The reality weaver hovering amidst the transformed station and the assembled fleet of evolved beings. They had won their right to shape their own destiny. But as Zorax looked out at the changed galaxy before them, he realized that their greatest challenges and their greatest adventures were only just beginning. The reality crucible had forged them anew, and the universe would never be the same again. As the cosmic presence of the architects faded, Zorax and Reyes found themselves back aboard the reality weaver, their consciousnesses once again confined to their physical forms. The abrupt transition left them reeling, their minds struggling to process the enormity of what had just transpired. Around them, the crew of the reality weaver stirred, each member looking dazed and transformed by their brush with cosmic awareness. Through the ship's viewports, they could see the space station and the surrounding ships, all warped and changed by the reality-bending energies they had been exposed to. "By the void," Zorax breathed, his four eyes blinking rapidly as he tried to reconcile his expanded awareness with his physical senses. "Did that really just happen?" Reyes nodded, a wry smile playing on his lips despite the gravity of the situation. We just negotiated with the architects of reality itself. I'd say that's a first, even for us." As the initial shock wore off, the implications of their cosmic bargain began to sink in. They had won the right to shape their own reality, to guide the evolution of their universe. But with that right came a responsibility greater than anything they had ever faced. "Captain," Dr. Mia Lawson's voice came from one of the consoles, sounding strained but determined. "I'm picking up massive changes in the fabric of space-time throughout the galaxy. It's as if the fundamental laws of physics are rewriting themselves." Reyes moved to her station, studying the readings with a furrowed brow. "Not just rewriting, Mia. They're becoming fluid, adaptable. It's like the universe itself has gained a form of sentience, responding to the collective will of its inhabitants." Zorax joined them, his military mind already racing with the potential consequences. "This changes everything. Our weapons, our defenses, even our basic understanding of how the universe works, it's all going to need to be reevaluated." "Not just reevaluated," Reyes said, turning to face his alien ally. "Reimagined entirely. We're going to need to bring everyone together, all species, to figure out how to navigate this new reality." As if on cue, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Voices from across the galaxy, some familiar and some entirely alien, began pouring in. Each transmission spoke of strange phenomena, of individuals, and even entire populations manifesting reality-altering abilities. "It's happening everywhere," Zorax realized. "The reality crucible didn't just change us, it changed everything." Reyes nodded grimly. "And not everyone is going to be happy about it. We need to act fast, to provide guidance and structure before chaos takes hold." Zorax's mandibles clicked in agreement. "We need a plan, a way to unite the galaxy under a common cause. But how do we govern a reality where the very laws of nature are subject to change?" As they pondered this monumental question, a new transmission cut through the chatter. It was the Solarian representative from the Council, his crystalline form now pulsing with inner light that seemed to bend the space around him. "Captain Vin, Captain Reyes," the Solarian's voice resonated with newfound power. "The Council, or what's left of it, is reconvening. We need you both here. The galaxy looks to us for leadership in this time of unprecedented change." Reyes and Zorax shared a look, both recognizing the weight of the moment. They had started this journey as reluctant allies, a human reality bender and a Thoraxian military captain. Now, they stood at the threshold of a new cosmic order, the fate of all realities resting on their shoulders. "Well, my friend," Reyes said, extending his hand to Zorax in a gesture that bridged their two species, "shall we go and shape the future of the universe?" Zorax grasped Reyes' hand with two of his own, feeling the power that now flowed between them. "Indeed. The reality crucible forged us anew. Now it's time to see what we can forge in turn." As the reality weaver prepared to navigate the shifting cosmos towards the Council's new location, Zorax couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. The greatest adventure in the history of all realities was about to begin, and they were at the very heart of it. The universe held its breath, waiting to see what these children of the cosmos would create with their newfound power. The journey to the Council's new location was unlike anything Zorax had ever experienced. The reality weaver didn't so much fly through space as it rewrote the fabric of reality around itself, bending distance and time to its will. Stars and galaxies blurred past in a kaleidoscope of cosmic energy, each one pulsing with newfound awareness. As they approached their destination, Zorax and Reyes stood side by side on the bridge, watching the swirling chaos of the transformed universe unfold before them. The Council's new meeting place was a marvel of impossibility, a massive structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "I never thought I'd see anything like this," Zorax murmured, his four eyes struggling to comprehend the sight before him. Reyes nodded, his expression a mix of awe and concern. "It's beautiful, but dangerous. All this unchecked reality manipulation, it could tear the universe apart if we're not careful." As the reality weaver docked with the impossible structure, Zorax and Reyes made their way to the central chamber. The room they entered defied conventional geometry, its walls shifting and flowing like liquid crystal. Representatives from across the galaxy were already gathered, each one transformed in unique and startling ways. The Solarian Counselor, his crystalline form now a conduit for pure energy, floated at the center of the chamber. "Captains," he greeted them, his voice resonating on multiple frequencies. "We stand at a crossroads of cosmic proportions. The old order has crumbled, and we must forge a new path forward." Zorax stepped forward, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon him. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his voice steady despite the surreal circumstances. "We have been granted an opportunity unlike any in the history of our universe. But with this power comes great responsibility." Reyes joined him, his human form shimmering with barely contained energy. "The architects of infinity have allowed us to shape our own destiny, but they've also placed the fate of all realities in our hands. We must proceed with caution and wisdom." A murmur rippled through the assembled beings, a mix of excitement and fear palpable in the air. An avian counselor, her feathers now trails of starlight, spoke up. "How can we possibly govern a reality where the very laws of nature are in flux, where any being with enough will can reshape the cosmos on a whim?" It was a question that cut to the heart of their dilemma. Zorax and Reyes exchanged a glance, years of shared experiences allowing them to communicate volumes in a single look. "We propose a cosmic accord," Zorax announced, the idea forming even as he spoke it. "A set of fundamental principles that all reality-shaping beings agree to abide by. Not rigid laws, but guidelines to ensure the stability and continued growth of our universe." Reyes nodded, building on the concept. "We've seen what unchecked reality manipulation can do. The Void Eaters were just the beginning. We need to establish safeguards, training protocols, and a system of checks and balances." The chamber erupted into discussion, ideas and concerns flying back and forth. Some counselors argued for strict controls on reality-altering abilities, while others advocated for complete freedom to explore their new powers. As the debate raged, Zorax felt a familiar presence brush against his mind. The transformed Thoraxians he had encountered earlier materialized in the chamber, their forms flickering between physical and energy states. "The future is not set," they spoke in unison, their voices echoing with cosmic wisdom. "The path you choose now will ripple across all realities. Choose wisely, for the multiverse watches and waits." With those cryptic words, they vanished, leaving behind a hushed silence. Zorax and Reyes found themselves the center of attention once more, the assembled council looking to them for guidance. "We stand at the dawn of a new era," Zorax declared, his voice ringing with conviction. "An era where the boundaries between thought and reality, between the possible and the impossible, have blurred. But we must not lose sight of who we are, of the values and principles that define us as sentient beings." Reyes stepped forward, his human form blazing with inner light. "Let us forge a new cosmic order, one built on cooperation, exploration, and the responsible use of our newfound powers. Together, we can create a universe beyond even the architect's wildest dreams." As their words resonated through the chamber, Zorax felt a shift in the cosmic energy around them. The assembled beings, representing countless species and realities, began to nod in agreement. A sense of purpose, of shared destiny, filled the air. The reality crucible had reshaped their universe, but now it was up to them to determine what that universe would become. As Zorax looked out at the sea of transformed faces, he knew that their greatest challenges and their greatest triumphs still lay ahead. The cosmic dance of creation and evolution had entered a new phase, and they were the choreographers of reality itself. In the cycles that followed, the galaxy underwent a transformation unlike anything in its long history. The Cosmic Accord, born from that fateful council meeting, became the cornerstone of a new universal order. Zorax and Reyes found themselves at the center of this cosmic revolution, guiding the myriad species of the galaxy as they grappled with their newfound reality-altering abilities. training centers were established across the galaxy, where beings could learn to harness and control their powers safely. The Reality Weaver, once a singular marvel, became the prototype for a fleet of ships capable of navigating the fluid laws of the new universe. Zorax oversaw the creation of a peacekeeping force, tasked with maintaining the delicate balance of the cosmic accord. But with great power came great challenges. Rogue elements emerged, individuals and groups who sought to use their abilities for personal gain or destructive purposes. Zorax and Reyes often found themselves on the front lines, confronting those who would threaten the fragile peace they had worked so hard to establish. One such confrontation led them to the edge of known space, where a collective of former Void Eaters had established a reality-warping stronghold. As the Reality Weaver approached, Zorax stood on the bridge, his four eyes scanning the impossible geometries before them. "I never thought I'd say this," Zorax mused, "but I almost missed the simplicity of our old universe. When a threat was just a threat, and not a potential reality-ending catastrophe." Reyes chuckled, the sound tinged with both amusement and weariness. "Careful what you wish for, old friend. I seem to recall you finding our old universe quite terrifying when we first met." As they prepared to confront the rogue collective, Zorax reflected on how far they had come. From enemies to allies, and now to something beyond friendship, bound together by the cosmic responsibility they shared. The battle that ensued was unlike anything in the old universe. Reality itself became a weapon, with both sides shaping and reshaping the fabric of space-time. Zorax found himself grateful for the countless hours of training and meditation that allowed him to maintain his sense of self amidst the chaos. In the end, it was not raw power that won the day, but the unity and creativity fostered by the cosmic accord. Working in harmony with beings from across the galaxy, Zorax and Reyes were able to outmaneuver and ultimately contain the rogue collective. As they stood in the aftermath, reality slowly stabilizing around them, Zorax felt a familiar presence. The transformed Thraxians appeared, their forms now more stable but still shimmering with cosmic energy. "You have done well, children of the cosmos," they spoke, their voices resonating with approval. "The architects watch, and they are intrigued by what you have wrought." Reyes stepped forward, his human form radiating with barely contained power. "And what of the future? Will there come a time when we no longer need their oversight?" The Thraxians' forms flickered, a gesture Zorax had come to recognize as cosmic amusement. "The future is ever in motion, shaped by the choices of all sentient beings. But know this, you have set in motion events that will echo across all realities. The story of this universe is far from over." As the transformed beings faded away, Zorax and Reyes shared a look of understanding. They had reshaped the cosmos, ushered in a new era of cosmic evolution, but their work was far from done. "Well, my friend," Zorax said, his mandibles clicking in what had become his version of a smile, "it seems our adventure continues." Reyes nodded, a glint of excitement in his eyes despite the challenges they had faced. "Indeed it does. The reality crucible forged us anew, and now we forge the future, one impossible feat at a time." As they boarded the Reality Weaver, ready to return to the heart of their transformed galaxy, Zorax felt a sense of profound gratitude. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now, thanks to the courage and creativity of beings from across the cosmos, those wonders were limited only by the boundaries of imagination itself. The reality crucible had been just the beginning. The true age of cosmic exploration and evolution was only just dawning, and Zorax, along with his human friend and countless allies across the galaxy, stood ready to face whatever marvels and challenges the infinite realities might bring. As the ship engaged its reality-bending drive, Zorax looked out at the swirling cosmos, forever changed yet filled with endless possibility. The greatest adventure in the history of all existence continued, and they were at the very heart of it all. The universe, in all its infinite glory, awaited. Captain Zorax Vin stood at the helm of the Reality Weaver, his four eyes fixed on the swirling chaos before him. What should have been the serene expanse of the Andromeda Galaxy was instead a maelstrom of collapsing realities, each one folding in on itself like a dying star. "By the void," Zorax muttered, his mandibles clicking in distress. "I've never seen anything like this, Reyes. It's as if the very fabric of space-time is unraveling." Captain Ethan Reyes, his human form shimmering with barely contained cosmic energy, nodded grimly. "This is the third such event we've encountered this cycle. Something is very wrong with the multiverse, old friend." In the centuries since the reality crucible had reshaped their universe, Zorax and Reyes had faced countless challenges. But this was different. It wasn't just a threat to their reality, but to the very concept of existence itself. "Mia," Reyes called out to his science officer, "what are the readings telling us?" Dr. Mia Lawson, her form a constantly shifting amalgam of data streams and energy, responded without looking up from her console. "It's not good, Captain. The collapse is accelerating. At this rate, the entire Andromeda Galaxy will cease to exist within the next solar cycle." Zorax felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. "We need to alert the Cosmic Accord. If this is happening here, it could be occurring across the entire multiverse." As if in response to his words, a shimmering portal opened on the bridge. Through it stepped a being that defied description, its form constantly shifting between different states of matter and energy. "Greetings, Guardians of the Accord," the being spoke, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies simultaneously. "I am Nexus Prime of the Nexians. We have been observing your reality, and we bring grave news." Reyes stepped forward, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. "Welcome aboard the Reality Weaver, Nexus Prime. What news do you bring?" The Nexian's form rippled, projecting a holographic map of the multiverse. Countless realities were represented as interconnected bubbles, but many were flickering and fading. "The collapse you witness here is but a symptom of a greater calamity," Nexus Prime explained. "The multiverse itself is dying, unraveling at its very seams. We believe it is connected to an ancient artifact of immense power, one created by the architects of infinity themselves." Zorax and Reyes exchanged a look of shared concern. They had long suspected that the architects had left behind more than just the responsibility of maintaining cosmic balance. "What is this artifact?" Zorax asked, his military mind already assessing potential threats and strategies. Nexus Prime's form coalesced into a more solid state, emphasizing the gravity of its next words. "It is known as the Cosmic Forge, a tool with the power to create or destroy entire universes. We believe it has been awakened, and its power is causing the instabilities we now face." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. A tool capable of reshaping the entire multiverse, more powerful even than the reality-bending abilities they had mastered over the centuries. Reyes broke the silence, his voice filled with determination. "Where is this Cosmic Forge, and who has awakened it?" Nexus Prime's form shimmered with what might have been uncertainty. "Its exact location is unknown to us. As for who awakened it, that is a mystery we hoped you might help us solve." Zorax stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with Reyes. "Whatever the threat, whatever the challenge, we will face it. The Cosmic Accord was founded to maintain balance in our new reality. If this forge threatens that balance, then it falls to us to set things right." As Nexus Prime nodded in agreement, alarms suddenly blared throughout the Reality Weaver. Outside the viewports, the collapsing realities seemed to pulse with new energy, tendrils of chaos reaching out towards the ship. "Captains," Mia's voice cut through the chaos, "we're detecting a massive surge of energy. Something's coming through the collapse." Zorax and Reyes braced themselves as reality itself seemed to tear open before them. Through the rift emerged a being that radiated power and malevolence in equal measure, its form a twisted mockery of the races they had sworn to protect. At last, the being's voice boomed across space and time. "The Cosmic Forge calls to its true master. Let the reforging of all realities begin." As the entity unleashed a wave of reality warping energy towards them, Zorax realized that their greatest challenge had only just begun. The fate of not just their universe, but all possible universes, now hung in the balance. The cosmic forge awaited, and with it, the power to reshape existence itself. Evasive maneuvers, Reyes shouted, his hands dancing over the reality manipulation controls. The reality weaver shuddered as it phased in and out of existence, narrowly avoiding the destructive wave of energy. Zorax's military training kicked in, his four arms working in perfect synchronization to stabilize the ship's defenses. Mia, analysis on that entity, now. Dr. Lawson's data stream form pulsed rapidly as she processed the incoming information. It's like nothing we've ever encountered. The entity appears to be a conglomerate of multiple realities, all compressed into a single form. Its power levels are off the charts. The mysterious being laughed, the sound reverberating through the fabric of space-time. Insignificant specks. You cannot comprehend the power I wield. The cosmic forge will be mine, and all of existence will be remade in my image. Nexus Prime's form flickered anxiously. This is worse than we feared. That being, it must be one of the Voidborn, evolved from the remnants of the Void Eaters you once fought. They seek to use the forge to undo the balance you've created. Reyes gritted his teeth, focusing his cosmic awareness to create a reality bubble around the reality weaver. We need to retreat, regroup. We can't fight this thing head-on, not without knowing more about the forge. Zorax nodded in agreement, but before he could respond, another alarm blared. Multiple rifts opening, he called out. We're being surrounded. Through tears in the fabric of reality, more Voidborn emerged, each radiating the same malevolent energy as the first. The reality weaver was quickly being boxed in, the collapsing realities of the Andromeda Galaxy providing a deadly backdrop to their predicament. Nexus Prime, Zorax turned to their interdimensional ally. Can you get us out of here? Open a portal to your realm? The Nexian's form wavered uncertainly. It's risky. Our dimension exists across multiple realities. Bringing your ship through could have unforeseen consequences. We don't have a choice, Reyes said firmly. Whatever the risk, it's better than being torn apart by the Voidborn. As if to emphasize his point, one of the Voidborn unleashed another reality-warping attack. The reality weaver's shields buckled under the strain, alarms screaming throughout the ship. Very well, Nexus Prime conceded. Its form expanded, enveloping the bridge in a shimmering field of interdimensional energy. Brace yourselves. This will be disorienting. The world around them seemed to fold in on itself. Zorax felt his very being stretched and compressed simultaneously, his consciousness fragmenting across multiple realities. For a moment that seemed to last an eternity, he was everywhere and nowhere, experiencing every possible version of himself all at once. Then, with a sensation akin to a rubber band snapping back into place, they emerged into a realm beyond anything they had ever seen. The Nexian dimension was a kaleidoscope of realities, each one visible as a shimmering bubble in an endless cosmic ocean. As Zorax's senses slowly realigned, he became aware of Reyes beside him, the human captain looking as disoriented as he felt. The reality weaver floated in this impossible space, its systems struggling to make sense of their new environment. Welcome, Nexus Prime's voice echoed around them. To the Nexus. Here, at the crossroads of all realities, we may find the answers we seek. But even as relief washed over them at their narrow escape, a new worry gnawed at Zorax's mind. They had escaped the immediate threat, yes, but at what cost? The Voidborn were still out there, growing stronger by the moment. And somewhere in the vast multiverse, the cosmic forge awaited, its power capable of unmaking everything they had fought so hard to protect. As he exchanged a grim look with Reyes, Zorax knew that their journey had only just begun. The race to find the cosmic forge was on, and the fate of all existence hung in the balance. In this realm of infinite possibilities, they would need to forge new alliances, uncover ancient secrets, and push their reality-bending powers to the limit. For if they failed, there might not be a reality left to save. The Nexus shimmered around them, a silent witness to the monumental task that lay ahead. The next move in this cosmic chess game could determine the fate of not just their universe, but all universes. And somewhere out in the infinite expanse, the Voidborn were making their move. As the reality weaver stabilized in the kaleidoscopic realm of the Nexus, Zorax and Reyes gathered their wits. The bridge hummed with an otherworldly energy, systems recalibrating to function in this cross-section of realities. "Status report," Reyes called out, his form flickering slightly as it adjusted to the new dimensional frequencies. Mia's data stream coalesced into a more humanoid shape. "Ship systems are adapting, Captain. But our sensors are overwhelmed. There's too much data, too many realities overlapping." Zorax moved to a viewport, his four eyes struggling to process the swirling cosmos beyond. "Nexus Prime, what exactly are we looking at here?" The Nexian's voice resonated from all around them. "You see before you the tapestry of existence itself. Each bubble is a separate reality, a unique universe with its own laws and histories." As they watched, several of the reality bubbles flickered and faded, winking out of existence. "The collapse is spreading," Reyes observed grimly. "We're running out of time." Nexus Prime's form materialized beside them. "Indeed. The Voidborn's actions have accelerated the decay. We must locate the cosmic forge before they do, or all will be lost." Zorax's military mind kicked into high gear. "We need intelligence. Nexus Prime, what do your people know about the forge's location?" The Nexian's form shimmered with what might have been hesitation. "Our knowledge is limited. The architects of infinity hid their creation well. But there are rumors, echoes across realities, of a map." "A map?" Reyes leaned in, intrigued. "To the forge itself?" "Not exactly," Nexus Prime clarified. "A map to the forge's creators, the last of the architects who still walk the multiverse. They alone know the forge's true location." Zorax and Reyes exchanged a look. The architects of infinity, the cosmic entities who had set them on this path centuries ago. To meet them again, to seek their aid, was both thrilling and terrifying. "And this map," Zorax pressed, "where is it?" Nexus Prime's form expanded, projecting a holographic image of a massive space station. "Here, in a reality not far from your own. A neutral ground known as the Convergence, where beings from across the multiverse trade in secrets and impossible technologies." Reyes studied the image, his eyes narrowing. "I don't like it. A place like that, crawling with interdimensional beings. The Voidborn are sure to have agents there." "No doubt," Zorax agreed. "But we don't have a choice. It's our only lead." As they prepared to navigate the treacherous waters of interdimensional politics, alarms blared once again. Mia's voice cut through the chaos. "Captains, we're detecting a massive energy surge. Something's trying to breach the Nexus." Outside, the swirling realities parted like a curtain torn asunder. A rift of pure darkness yawned open, and through it poured a familiar and terrifying sight. The Voidborn had found them. "Impossible," Nexus Prime's voice wavered with shock. "No outside force should be able to penetrate the Nexus." But the evidence was undeniable. The twisted, reality-warping forms of the Voidborn advanced, their leader's voice booming across dimensions. "Did you think you could hide from us, guardians of the old order? We are the future, the evolution of all realities. The forge will be ours." Zorax sprang into action, barking orders to the crew. "Battle stations, Reyes, we need an exit strategy, now." As the reality weaver's weapons charged, reality-bending energies crackling along its hull, Reyes interfaced directly with the ship's systems. His consciousness expanded, searching for a safe path through the chaotic dimensional tides. "There," he shouted, his eyes glowing with cosmic awareness. "A thin spot between realities. If we can punch through, it should lead us close to the Convergence." Zorax nodded grimly. "Do it. Nexus Prime, we could use some cover." The Nexian's form expanded, enveloping the reality weaver in a shimmering field of interdimensional energy. "I will do what I can, but hurry. Even the Nexus cannot withstand the Voidborn's assault for long. As the ship surged forward, reality itself seemed to bend and warp around them. The Voidborn's attacks lashed out, each one capable of unmaking entire universes. But the combined powers of the Reality Weaver's crew, strengthened by Nexus Prime's assistance, held firm. With a final burst of energy, they plunged through the dimensional barrier. The kaleidoscopic realm of the Nexus fell away, replaced by the cold, star-studded blackness of more familiar space. As the crew caught their breath, a massive structure loomed before them. The Convergence, a sprawling space station that seemed to exist in multiple realities at once, its impossible architecture a testament to the wonders and dangers that awaited. Zorax and Reyes shared a look of determination. They had escaped immediate danger, but the real challenge was just beginning. Somewhere in that interdimensional bazaar lay the key to finding the Cosmic Forge, and with it, the power to save or doom all of existence. The race against the Voidborn had begun in earnest, and the fate of the multiverse hung in the balance. The Reality Weaver approached the Convergence, its system still reeling from the interdimensional journey. Zorax studied the massive structure before them, his tactical mind assessing potential threats and entry points. "Remarkable," he murmured. "It's like no station I've ever seen." Reyes nodded, his eyes glowing faintly as he extended his cosmic senses. "It exists in multiple realities simultaneously. I can feel the overlapping dimensions, each one bleeding into the next." As they drew closer, the true scale of the Convergence became apparent. It was a city in space, a sprawling metropolis of impossible architecture and swirling energies. Beings from countless realities moved through its corridors, some recognizable, others defying description. "How do we even begin to search for the map in this?" Zorax wondered aloud. Nexus Prime's voice echoed from the ship's communication system. "I can guide you to the information markets, but from there, you're on your own. Be cautious. The Convergence operates on its own rules, and not all of them align with the laws of your reality." Reyes turned to his crew. "Mia, you're with us. The rest of you, keep the ship ready for a quick departure. If the Voidborn manage to follow us here, we'll need to move fast." As they prepared to disembark, Zorax felt a familiar tension in his exoskeleton, the anticipation of impending danger. "Reyes," he said quietly, "we should be prepared for the possibility that this is a trap. The Voidborn could have agents anywhere." The human captain nodded grimly. "Agreed. Keep your reality-bending senses sharp. We can't afford to take anything at face value here." They stepped off the Reality Weaver onto a docking platform that seemed to shift and change with each passing moment. The air itself felt charged with potential, as if the very fabric of space-time was malleable here. Following Nexus Prime's guidance, they made their way through winding corridors and impossible spaces. They passed markets where traders bartered in dreams and memories, workshops where artisans sculpted raw probability into tangible forms, and shadowy corners where deals of cosmic significance were struck in whispers. Finally, they arrived at a vast chamber, a library of sorts, where information from across the multiverse was bought, sold, and traded. Holographic displays flickered with data streams from countless realities, and beings of all descriptions pored over ancient tomes and futuristic data crystals. "This is where we'll find our lead," Reyes said, his voice low. "But we need to be careful. In a place like this, information is power, and power attracts danger." They split up, each taking a section of the vast information market to search. Zorax found himself in an area dedicated to cosmic cartography, star charts of realities he could barely comprehend surrounding him. As he searched, a hooded figure approached, its form seeming to flicker in and out of existence. "You seek the map to the architects," it said, its voice a whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Zorax's hands instinctively moved to his weapons. "And if we do?" The figure's hood fell back, revealing a face that was a swirling vortex of stars and galaxies. "I am a chronicler of the void. We have watched your journey across realities. The map you seek comes with a heavy price." Before Zorax could respond, A commotion erupted across the chamber. Ray's voice cut through the chaos. "Zorax, we've got company." Turning, Zorax saw a group of beings pushing through the crowd, their forms twisting and warping in a way that could only mean one thing: void-born agents. The chronicler's starry eyes fixed on Zorax. "Choose quickly, Guardian. The knowledge you seek, or the safety of your companions." As chaos erupted around them, Zorax found himself faced with an impossible choice. The map that could lead them to the Cosmic Forge was within reach, but at what cost? And with the Voidborn closing in, how could they hope to escape the convergence with their prize and their lives intact? The multiverse held its breath as Zorax prepared to make a decision that could alter the course of all realities. Zorax's 4 eyes darted between the chronicler and the advancing Voidborn agents. Time seemed to slow as he weighed his options, centuries of tactical experience condensing into a split-second decision. "Both," he growled, his mandibles clicking with determination. "We'll take the knowledge and save our companions." Without waiting for a response, Zorax grabbed the chronicler's arm, his other hands already activating his personal reality-bending shield. "You're coming with us. Raise," he shouted across the chaotic chamber. "Convergence Point Omega." Raise, locked in combat with a Voidborn agent whose form kept shifting between solid and gaseous states, nodded in understanding. It was a maneuver they had practiced countless times, a synchronization of their reality-bending powers to create a localized fold in space-time. As the Voidborn closed in, reality itself began to warp around Zorax and the chronicler. Across the chamber, Raze and Mia were enveloped in a similar distortion. The air crackled with energy as the two fields of warp space-time reached out to each other, connecting, merging. With a sound like reality itself tearing, the 4 of them vanished from the information market, reappearing instantaneously back on the bridge of the Reality Weaver. "Go," Zorax barked at the helm officer. "Get us out of here." The ship's engines roared to life, reality-bending fields enveloping the hull as they tore away from the convergence. Behind them, space itself seemed to boil as the Voidborn gave chase, their twisted forms pushing through the dimensional barriers in hot pursuit. "Talk fast," Raze demanded, rounding on the chronicler. "Where's the map?" The cosmic being's starry eyes swirled with what might have been amusement. "The map is not a physical thing, Guardians. It is knowledge, imprinted directly into the mind of one who is worthy." Zorax felt a chill run down his exoskeleton. "And the price for this knowledge?" "The bearer of the map must be willing to sacrifice a part of themselves," the chronicler intoned. "A fragment of their very being, given over to the cosmic tapestry." Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Mia's voice cut through the tension. "Captains, the Voidborn are tearing holes in reality around us. We can't outrun them for long." Raze and Zorax shared a look of understanding. They had come too far to turn back now. "I'll do it," Raze said, stepping forward. "I'll bear the map." Zorax moved to protest, but Raze held up a hand. "My reality-bending powers are stronger. I have a better chance of withstanding whatever this process entails." The chronicler nodded solemnly. "Very well. Prepare yourself, Guardian. This will not be pleasant." As the Reality Weaver bucked and weaved through the interdimensional onslaught, the chronicler placed a hand on Ray's forehead. The human captain's eyes went wide, his body rigid as cosmic knowledge poured into his mind. Zorax watched in horror as parts of Ray's body began to fade, becoming translucent, as if he was being erased from existence. "Rays," he shouted, moving to intervene. "No," the chronicler warned. "The process must not be interrupted, or all will be lost." For what seemed like an eternity, Rays stood frozen, caught between realities. Then, with a gasp, he collapsed to the deck, his form solidifying once more, though noticeably changed. Streaks of cosmic energy now coursed through his veins, and his eyes held the reflection of distant galaxies. I see it," Rays whispered, his voice resonating with newfound power. "The path to the architects. It's beautiful." But there was no time to celebrate. The ship rocked again, alarms blaring as reality itself began to tear apart around them. "Raise," Zorax urged, helping his friend to his feet. "We need a way out. Now." The human captain nodded, his cosmic-infused eyes focusing on something beyond normal perception. "There," he said, pointing to what looked like empty space. "A hidden fold in reality. It'll take us directly to the architect's realm." As the Voidborn closed in, reality crumbling in their wake, Zorax made the call. "Do it." Ray's reached out, his enhanced powers tearing open a rift in space-time. The reality weaver plunged through, leaving the pursuing Voidborn behind in a collapsing bubble of fractured realities. They emerged into a realm of pure cosmic energy, a place beyond the comprehension of mortal minds, and there, waiting for them, were the imposing forms of the Architects of Infinity. Zorax realized with a mix of awe and trepidation that they had reached their destination. But as he looked at Ray's, forever changed by the cosmic map, he wondered at what cost their victory had come. The final confrontation loomed before them, with the fate of all realities hanging in the balance. The reality weaver hung suspended in a sea of pure cosmic energy, dwarfed by the towering forms of the Architects of Infinity. Zorax felt his very being tremble in their presence, the weight of eons pressing down upon him. Ray's stood at the forefront, his altered form pulsing with the power of the cosmic map. His eyes, now swirling galaxies, met the inscrutable gaze of the nearest architect. "You have come far, children of the cosmos," the architect's voice resonated through reality itself. "But we sense a grave disturbance in the fabric of existence." Zorax stepped forward, his military bearing a stark contrast to the cosmic entities before them. "Great architects, the multiverse is under threat. The Voidborn seek the cosmic forge, and realities are collapsing in their wake." Another architect, its form a constantly shifting array of geometric impossibilities, spoke. "The forge was never meant for lesser beings to wield. Its power is beyond your comprehension." "With all due respect," Ray's interjected, his voice carrying a new authority, "we've come too far and sacrificed too much to be dismissed as lesser beings now. The multiverse is our home, and we have every right to fight for it." The architects seemed to confer among themselves, their communication a dance of light and energy that defied mortal understanding. Finally, the first architect addressed them again. "You speak with the wisdom of the cosmic map, human. But knowing the path to power does not grant the right to wield it." Zorax's mandibles clicked in frustration. Then why create the forge at all? Why leave such a powerful tool where it could fall into the wrong hands? A third architect, its form a void of swirling darkness studded with distant stars, moved closer. "The forge was not created, little one. It is a fundamental aspect of existence itself, a nexus point where realities converge and diverge. We merely contained it." Ray's eyes widened with understanding. "And now that containment is failing, the Voidborn's actions are causing the forge to destabilize, unraveling the very fabric of the multiverse." The architects nodded in unison, a gesture that sent ripples through the cosmic tapestry around them. "You begin to understand the true scope of the threat. The forge must be resealed, or all of existence will unravel." Zorax felt a glimmer of hope. "Then tell us how. Give us the means to stop the Voidborn and reseal the forge." The architects exchanged another indecipherable look. "It is not so simple. The sealing of the forge requires a sacrifice, a being of great power to serve as its new guardian and container." The implications hit Zorax like a plasma blast. He turned to Ray's, seeing the grim determination in his friend's cosmic eyes. "No," Zorax said firmly, "there has to be another way." Ray's placed a hand on Zorax's shoulder, a gesture laden with centuries of shared battles and triumphs. "You know there isn't, old friend. The map in my mind, the power flowing through me, it was always leading to this moment." Before Zorax could protest further, alarms blared throughout the reality weaver. Mia's voice cut through the cosmic silence. "Captains, multiple reality breaches detected. The Voidborn have found us. The realm of the architects shuddered as twisted, reality-warping forms began to push through tears in the cosmic fabric. The leader of the Voidborn, its form a nightmarish amalgamation of countless realities, fixed its gaze upon the assembled group. At last, its voice boomed across dimensions. The Forge lies within our grasp. The old order ends now. The architects moved to defend their realm, cosmic energies swirling around them. But Zorax could see that even their immense power was straining against the Voidborn assault. Reyes turned to Zorax, his expression a mix of sorrow and resolve. "You know what needs to be done. Lead them to the Forge. I'll hold them off." Zorax wanted to argue, to find another solution, but the soldier in him knew that time had run out. With a heavy heart, he nodded to his oldest friend. "It has been an honor, Reyes. May your journey through eternity be filled with wonders." As Reyes moved to confront the Voidborn, his form blazing with cosmic fire, Zorax turned to the architects. "Take us to the Forge. Now." The universe seemed to fold around them as they hurtled through layers of reality. Behind them, the sounds of an impossible battle faded into the distance. Zorax steeled himself for what lay ahead. The cosmic forge awaited, and with it, the power to reshape existence itself. But at what cost? And could he bring himself to seal his friend away for eternity? The final confrontation loomed, with the fate of all realities hanging in the balance. Reality twisted and warped around Zorax as the architects transported him and the remaining crew of the Reality Weaver to the heart of existence. When the cosmic turbulence settled, they found themselves in a realm that defied description. The cosmic forge loomed before them, a structure that seemed to be made of pure possibility. It pulsed with energy, each beat sending ripples through the fabric of reality. Surrounding it was a maelstrom of unraveling universes, countless realities fraying at the edges as the forge's containment continued to fail. "By the void," Zorax breathed, his 4 eyes struggling to comprehend the sight before him. "How do we even begin to approach something like that?" The lead architect's voice resonated in their minds. "The forge responds to will and intent. But beware, for it will amplify your desires beyond your imagining. Many have been consumed by its power." Zorax nodded grimly, turning to address his crew. "Stay alert. We don't know how long Reyes can hold off the Voidborn. We need to work fast." As they began to move towards the forge, a familiar voice echoed across the cosmic expanse. "I'm afraid you're too late, Guardians." Zorax spun around to see the leader of the Voidborn materializing before them, its form a writhing mass of conflicting realities. Behind it, more Voidborn poured through rifts in space-time. "Reyes," Zorax whispered, his heart sinking. Had his friend fallen? The Voidborn leader laughed, the sound distorting reality around it. "Your human ally fought valiantly, I'll give him that. But in the end, he was just another speck before the tide of cosmic evolution." Anger surged through Zorax, his form crackling with built-up reality-bending energy. "You'll pay for that," he growled, preparing to launch himself at the Voidborn. But before he could move, a blinding light erupted from the cosmic forge. A figure emerged from the energy, battered and changed, but unmistakable. "Reyes," Zorax called out, relief and confusion warring in his voice. The human captain hovered before them, his body now a conduit for cosmic energies. The map that had been imprinted in his mind seemed to have merged with his very being, turning him into a living star chart of reality. "Sorry I'm late," Reyes said, his voice echoing with newfound power. Turns out, the map wasn't just directions, it was a key. The Voidborn leader snarled, its form twisting in rage. "Impossible. The forge responds only to beings of pure cosmic essence." One of the architects stepped forward, its form shimmering with what might have been approval. "You underestimate the potential of these lesser beings, Voidborn. In his sacrifice, the human has transcended his mortal limitations." Reyes turned to Zorax, his cosmic eyes filled with determination. "We have one shot at this, old friend. The forge's power is ours to command, but only for a moment. We need to reseal it before the backlash tears reality apart. Zorax nodded, understanding flowing between them. Centuries of friendship and shared battles had prepared them for this moment. Whatever you need, I'm with you. As the Voidborn surged forward, Reyes and Zorax moved as one. They reached out to the Cosmic Forge, their combined will focusing its awesome power. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as the fate of all existence hung in the balance. The forge pulsed once, twice, and then erupted in a nova of pure creation. Zorax felt his consciousness expand, touching every corner of the multiverse. He saw countless realities, infinite possibilities, all connected by the threads of cosmic design. With a thought, they began to reweave the fabric of existence, sealing the tiers and reinforcing the boundaries between realities. The Voidborn howled as they were caught in the wave of restructuring, their twisted forms being rewritten at the most fundamental level. But the power was too much for mortal minds to contain. Zorax felt himself being pulled apart, his very essence scattered across dimensions. Through the cosmic haze, he reached out to Reyes, feeling his friend's consciousness alongside his own. In that moment of universal restructuring, a choice lay before them. The Forge needed a guardian, a being of cosmic power to maintain the new order they were creating. One of them would have to stay, to become one with the Forge for eternity. As reality reshaped itself around them, Zorax and Reyes faced the ultimate decision, their friendship and the fate of all existence hanging in the cosmic balance. In the swirling maelstrom of cosmic energy, Zorax and Reyes' consciousnesses intertwined, communicating in a language beyond words. Eons passed in the span of heartbeats as they weighed the fate of all realities against their millennia of friendship. It has to be me, Zorax. Reyes' thoughts resonated through the cosmic tapestry. The map, it's part of me now. I'm already more energy than matter. Zorax's essence recoiled at the idea. No, old friend, you've sacrificed enough. I'll do it. But even as he made the offer, Zorax knew the truth. Reyes' transformation had prepared him for this role in a way that Zorax could never match. The human captain had become a living conduit for the Forge's power. With a final surge of will, Reyes began to merge with the cosmic Forge. His form expanded, becoming one with the swirling energies of creation itself. Zorax felt his friend's consciousness brush against his one last time, conveying centuries of shared memories, triumphs, and unspoken gratitude. Farewell, my friend, Reyes' voice echoed across realities. Keep them safe. In a blinding flash of light, the merger was complete. The cosmic forge pulsed with renewed power, and reality itself seemed to exhale. The tiers in the cosmic fabric began to mend, universes realigning and stabilizing. Zorax found himself back in his physical form, standing on the deck of the Reality Weaver. Around him, the crew looked dazed but unharmed. The architects hovered nearby, their cosmic forms radiating what might have been approval. It is done, the lead architect intoned. The forge is sealed, with your friend as its eternal guardian. The multiverse is safe. For now. Zorax's mandibles clicked in a mixture of sorrow and determination. What of the Voidborn? Rewritten, another architect answered. Their essence has been scattered across realities, no longer a unified threat. But be warned, the potential for chaos always remains. As the implications of their victory sank in, Zorax turned his gaze to the spot where the cosmic forge had been. In its place now stood a shimmering nebula, swirling with colors beyond mortal comprehension. At its heart, Zorax could almost make out a human form, eternally vigilant. What now? Mia asked, her data stream form coalescing beside Zorax. The Thoraxian captain straightened, his military bearing returning. Now, we rebuild. We've been given a second chance, not just for our reality, but for all realities. We can't waste it. The lead architect approached, its cosmic form diminishing to a more comprehensible size. You have proven yourselves worthy guardians of the cosmic order, but your task is far from over. Zorax nodded, understanding the weight of responsibility that now rested on their shoulders. The cosmic accord will need to be reformed, expanded to encompass the new realities we've discovered. We'll need to establish protocols for inter-universal travel, set up early warning systems for future incursions. As he spoke, plans began to form in his mind. The Reality Weaver would become the flagship of a new fleet, dedicated to maintaining the boundaries between realities. They would need to recruit beings from across the multiverse, creating a truly cosmic peacekeeping force. It won't be easy, Zorax continued, addressing his crew. We've lost a great leader and friend, but in his sacrifice, Reyes has given us the chance to forge a new future, one of cooperation across all realities. The architects began to fade, their purpose fulfilled. Remember, their voices echoed as they disappeared. With great power comes great responsibility. The fate of all realities now rests in your hands. As the Reality Weaver prepared to return to their home universe, Zorax took one last look at the cosmic nebula that had once been the Forge. "Goodbye, old friend," he whispered, "and thank you." With a surge of its reality-bending engines, the ship leapt into the cosmic stream, ready to begin the monumental task of rebuilding and protecting the new cosmic order. The cosmic forge had reshaped existence, but it was up to Zorax and his crew to ensure that this new multiverse thrived. As they traveled home, Zorax couldn't help but feel that their greatest adventures still lay ahead. The cosmos, in all its infinite wonder and danger, awaited. Cycles passed as Zorax and the crew of the Reality Weaver worked tirelessly to implement their vision of a unified multiverse. The ship became a symbol of hope and cooperation, traversing the boundaries between realities to forge alliances and maintain the delicate balance of the cosmic order. On this particular day, Zorax stood on the bridge, overseeing a diplomatic mission to a newly discovered universe. The viewscreen showed a swirling galaxy of crystalline structures, each one housing a civilization of energy beings. "Fascinating," Mia commented, her data stream form analyzing the readings. "Their entire concept of physics is based on harmonic resonances. It's like nothing we've ever encountered." Zorax nodded, his four eyes taking in the alien beauty before them. "Send the standard greeting package. Let's see if they're open to joining the Cosmic Accord." As the crew went about their tasks, Zorax felt a familiar pang of loss. Even after all this time, he still expected to turn and see Reyes standing beside him, ready with a quip or a word of wisdom. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Captain," one of the officers called out, "we're detecting a massive energy surge. It's coming from the Forge Nebula." Zorax's heart raced. The Forge Nebula, the cosmic remnant of the sealed cosmic forge, had remained stable since Reyes' sacrifice. Any disturbance there could have catastrophic consequences for the entire multiverse. "Set a course immediately," Zorax ordered. "Maximum reality bending speed." The Reality Weaver tore through the fabric of space-time, pushing its engines to the limit. As they approached the nebula, Zorax could see that something was terribly wrong. The once serene swirl of cosmic energies was now a maelstrom of chaos, pulsing with erratic bursts of power. "What in the void is happening?" Zorax muttered, his mandibles clicking anxiously. As if in answer to his question, a familiar voice echoed through the ship's communication systems. "Zorax, old friend, need your help." "Reyes," Zorax gasped, hardly daring to believe it. "Is that you?" The voice came again, strained and distorted. "The Forge. It's destabilizing. Something is trying to break through. Can't hold it much longer." Mia's form flickered with alarm. "Captain, the energy readings are off the charts. If the Forge's containment fails, it could trigger a chain reaction across all realities." Zorax's military mind raced through the possibilities. They couldn't abandon Reyes, but approaching the nebula in its current state would be suicide. And if the Forge was compromised, everything they had fought for could be undone in an instant. "Mia," Zorax said, an idea forming. "What if we used the Reality Weaver's engines to create a stabilizing field around the nebula? Could we buy Reyes enough time to regain control?" The data stream being pulsed as she ran the calculations. "It's possible," but it would require channeling an enormous amount of energy through the ship. We'd be risking a total systems failure. Zorax nodded grimly. It's a risk we'll have to take. Prepare the engines for maximum output. We're going in. As the reality weaver approached the chaotic nebula, Zorax felt the weight of countless realities resting on his shoulders. Once again, he found himself at the crux of a cosmic crisis, with the fate of all existence hanging in the balance. Hold on, Raze, Zorax whispered as he gave the order to engage. We're coming. The ship plunged into the swirling maelstrom of the destabilized forge, reality itself bending and warping around them. Whatever was trying to break through, whatever cosmic horror sought to undo the sacrifices they had made, Zorax was determined to face it head-on. The final battle for the cosmic forge, and the future of the multiverse, was about to begin. The reality weaver shuddered as it penetrated the outer layers of the forge nebula. Reality itself seemed to warp and twist around them, the laws of physics breaking down in the face of raw cosmic power. Divert all non-essential power to the stabilizing field, Zorax commanded, his four arms working in perfect synchronization across multiple control panels. Mia, can you locate the source of the disturbance? Mia's data stream form pulsed rapidly as she processed the overwhelming influx of information. It's coming from the very heart of the forge. I'm detecting a presence there, something vast and ancient. As they pushed deeper into the nebula, a familiar voice echoed through the ship's systems, stronger now. Zorax, you made it, but you shouldn't have come. It's too dangerous. Raze, Zorax called out, relief and concern warring in his voice. What's happening? What's trying to break through? The nebula around them seemed to pulse in response, and suddenly, Raze's form materialized on the bridge. He was translucent, more energy than matter, but unmistakably their old friend and captain. It's the architects, Raze said, his cosmic eyes filled with urgency. Or rather, what's left of them. They've been consumed by the very forces they sought to contain. Zorax's mandibles clicked in shock. But how? Why now? Raze's form flickered as another wave of energy surged through the nebula. The multiverse is constantly expanding, creating new realities, new possibilities. The architects, they couldn't adapt. They're trying to use the forge to reset everything, to return to a simpler cosmic order. The implications hit Zorax like a plasma blast. They would undo everything we've accomplished, all the alliances we've forged across realities. Mia's voice cut through the tension. Captains, we have multiple breaches forming. The architects are pushing through. Around them, the nebula began to tear apart. Through the rifts, Zorax could see twisted, monstrous forms that barely resembled the cosmic entities they had once known. The architects had become warped parodies of themselves, consumed by their desire for control. We need a plan, Zorax said, his tactical mind racing. Raze, you're connected to the forge. Is there a way to repel them, to reinforce the boundaries? Raze nodded, his ethereal form pulsing with determination. Yes, but it will require more power than I alone can provide. Zorax, I need you and the crew to link with me, to lend your wills to the forge. It's too risky, Zorax protested. You've already sacrificed so much. It's the only way, Raze insisted. Together, we might have enough strength to rewrite the architects themselves, to remind them of their true purpose. As the corrupted architects began to push through the rifts, reality fraying around them, Zorax knew they were out of options. He turned to his crew, seeing the same resolve in their eyes that he felt in his hearts. All right, Zorax said, stepping forward. We're with you, old friend. One last time. Raze smiled, a gesture that sent ripples through the fabric of space-time. Thank you, all of you. Now, focus your minds on the forge. Imagine the multiverse as you wish it to be, full of wonder and possibility. As the crew of the Reality Weaver joined their consciousnesses with Raze and the Cosmic Forge, Zorax felt his awareness expand to encompass all of reality. He saw the infinite tapestry of existence, the countless lives and stories playing out across the multiverse. With a surge of collective will, they pushed back against the corrupted architects. The power of the forge flowed through them, reshaping reality at its most fundamental level. The architects' twisted forms began to unravel, their essence being rewritten and purified. In that moment of cosmic restructuring, Zorax understood the true nature of their role as guardians. It wasn't about control or containment, but about nurturing the infinite potential of existence itself. As the last of the corrupted architects were transformed, Zorax felt the multiverse settling into a new equilibrium. The forge pulsed one final time, and then fell silent, its power once again contained but not constrained. Slowly, Zorax and the crew found themselves back on the bridge of the Reality Weaver. The nebula around them had calmed, now a serene swirl of cosmic energies. Ray's form appeared before them, more solid now but still infused with the power of the forge. "It's done," he said, a smile playing on his lips. "The architects have been renewed, and the forge is secure. But more importantly, the multiverse is free to grow and evolve as it should." Zorax stepped forward, emotion thick in his voice. "What now, old friend? Will you return to your vigil?" Ray shook his head. "No, my time as the sole guardian is over. The forge doesn't need a keeper anymore, just stewards to guide and protect. I think it's time for a new adventure, don't you?" As understanding dawned, Zorax felt a surge of excitement he hadn't experienced in centuries. The Reality Weaver hummed around them, ready to embark on a new journey across the infinite expanse of the multiverse. With Ray by his side once more, and the crew eager for what lay ahead, Zorax gave the order. "Set a course for the unknown. The greatest adventure of all awaits." As the Reality Weaver leapt into the cosmic stream, Zorax knew that whatever challenges they might face, they would face them together. The cosmic forge had reshaped existence, and now it was up to them to explore and protect the wonders it had created. The multiverse, in all its infinite glory, beckoned, and they were ready to answer its call.